the Rules Committee, where from environmental legislation to immigration legislation to LGBT rights legislation, where it can be bottled up and defeated in a matter of seconds. And so we need to get away from that. And how do we get away from that? We get a majority. And so I really appreciate this forum every year. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here with you, John, and everyone else. But part of me thinks we only be door knocking right now. Because the rubber meets the road, and it's all about shoe leather and making sure we get to where we need to be.
And you need 1 or 2 seats to get a majority.
We need 2 seats, or basically 1 seat for power sharing, and then 2 seats for a majority in the House, and then 1 seat in the Senate.
That's good to know.
So there we go. Thank you very much for being here. And I didn't even talk about the environment and renewable energy, but we need to get into that sometime.
Good morning. I'm Kathy Tran, and I represent the 42nd District, which lies entirely within Fairfax County, covers parts of Mount Vernon, Lorton, Springfield, and Fairfax Station, so it's southeast and the southern part of the county. And I'm really delighted to be here with you today. Actually, first came across SALT when I was door knocking and met one of your members, Claire, who I don't see today. Is she here? No. And
Claire
she's
Randall, right?
Yeah, Claire Randall, who also turns out to be a good friend of a friend of mine. And so, but she just talked about the great community and advocacy work that you all do. And John, thank you so much for your support during session and sending us information. You know, I spent my career working to help people get the skills and education they need to succeed in their own lives and reach their full career potential. So I focused several of my bills around helping people get skills here, you know, when I was in the General Assembly. And John mentioned 2 bills that, budget amendments that I put through related to the TANF program. One was to use the excess federal grant funds to create a grant for community colleges. So it's a little bit different than what Delegate Kathleen Murphy had, but this would have been to allow community colleges to apply for these grants to then create workforce training programs for TANF recipients. The other would have extended the eligibility period for TANF recipients who are in workforce or education programs to receive supportive services, because we all know, you know, to be successful in those programs, you need to be able to have transportation and childcare and other services that really enable you to be successful to complete your program and then go on to be in a self-sufficient work environment. But both of those amendments didn't pass, but we, you know, we're really glad to be able to work with SALT, to be able to work with the Virginia Poverty Law Center and others around developing those proposals, and we'll look forward to working on those issues again. I also had a bill that passed related to the Department of the Blind and Visually Impaired that updated the code in relation to the department's workforce so that it is more inclusive and better represents the type of work they do. For example, the department no longer has sheltered work places, and so we wanted to make sure that the language reflected their competitive employment opportunities. And in the 42nd, we actually have 2 DBVI work sites located at Fort Belvoir. So it's really good to work with them to make sure that that the code is more inclusive and reflective of the type of work that individuals who are blind or visually impaired are engaged in through the department. And then I just want to touch on 2 veterans workforce bills that I had that helped veterans, that would have helped veterans better transition from the military to the civilian workforce, to be able to get credit for their education and training that they received in the military through 4-year institutions. We currently have law in place that requires community colleges to evaluate military training and education programs, right? But we don't require 4-year institutions to do that. And I want to make sure that veterans have, and active military individuals have, service members have the full range of educational opportunities that they need to succeed when they transition out and to better provide for their families. We're pursuing those conversations with SHEV in the next few weeks and working with their institutions as well as with the Department of Education. So we're excited to see that continue to move on. And then just 2 bills around immigration that I wanted to touch on. I had a bill with Senator Adam Ebbin around creating an Office of Immigrant Assistance. This was also, it would have codified a budget proposal that was in Governor McAuliffe's budget, which would have provided assistance to immigrants in both getting access to information on how to become a citizen, as well as how to get information when there are issues around targeting immigrant communities, such as notario fraud, human trafficking, gang-related activities. And then the other bill that we got bipartisan support on, and we're going to pursue with the FOIA Commission, is to make sure that in instances where the state or local entities collects religious data on your religious identity or beliefs, that we cannot share that information with the federal government if they want to use it to create a registry. Right? We've heard lots of conversations around that, and I think the fear is real in some of our Muslim communities and other communities. And so I was really proud of the bipartisan support we got for that, as well as the broad coalitions I was able to build for all my bills, but particularly this one, where we worked with the Family Foundation, as well as the Adams Center, the Virginia Interfaith Public Policy Center, and the JCRC, right, and others. And so we're going to continue those conversations with the FOIA Commission, and hopefully convince them that this is really important for us to be proactive in and not wait for something to be handed down from the federal government and where we may not have time to react or to protect Virginians around that. So I'm really excited to be here and to work on those issues, and I think that a lot of the priorities that you have in SALT are things that I care deeply about too, and so look forward to just staying engaged and throughout this year and into the next session. So thank you.
Where do you?